Welcome to Mastering Mortgages, presented by Revolution Mortgage, the podcast that demystifies the world of mortgages, real estate, and homeownership. Our goal is to empower and inspire homebuyers, real estate professionals, and mortgage industry leaders. My name is Danielle, and I want to invite you to join me as I sit down with today's guest to talk about practical tips and valuable insights into the mortgage industry. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Mastering Mortgages podcast. We're thrilled to have a special trio from our Lubbock branch with us today. Joining me are Savanna Holton, Kyndra Watson, and Ashley Laycock, who are branch production managers at Revolution Mortgage. In this episode, we'll dive into the various types of mortgage loans to empower you, our listeners, with knowledge about your options. So with that, let's get started. Thank you so much, Kyndra, Savanna, and Ashley for joining us today. We are so excited to have you guys on this episode and just to talk about understanding different loan types and just get to explore that a little bit more. But I just wanted to kick it off with something that's a little more fun first and wanted to hear each of your answers. If imagine money were no object, what kind of dream home would each of you choose and where would it be located? So who wants to kick us off with that?
I would love to live in Victoria. I don't really care about the home as long as it's something comfortable. My husband and I went there for our honeymoon, and it was the most beautiful, quaint place we've ever been to. And we've always talked about going back or maybe having a vacation home there someday.
I'd say I'm the exact opposite, which probably won't surprise us. I would love to live in New York City. I would love to live in a little brownstone or a condo, something like that. Of course, that's a money was no object situation, but it's my favorite place in the world. I go several times a year and spend as much time there as I can, but that's definitely my happy place.
And I'm going to have to go with the beach. House right on the beach where you could just walk out, but it has to have a pool too. I thought about this really hard. Still a pool, salt water. You can only take so much of that. But definitely house right on the beach, just gorgeous view. Me and my husband both love the beach. Anytime we go on vacation, that is where we typically go. And I think that would just be our 100% happy place.
Yeah, I like the different answers that we got with that one. I think I would probably be on board with the beach as well. I like the sunshine, and hey, that's why we're in Texas, right? So perfect. Well, it's so great to have some other Texans here. And, we just want to dive in today talking about different mortgage options and just understanding the different loan types. So, mortgages offer a diverse range of choices, each with its unique features and benefits. Could you go ahead and provide an overview of just the multitude of mortgage options available for somebody that might be listening that is very unfamiliar with this? Maybe, just basic knowledge of this so that somebody who's listening could understand.
I really think the most important thing that if somebody doesn't know anything about mortgage should know is just to make the phone call and just to ask the questions and just say, hey, this is my situation. Because the thing is that in this market, especially with Revolution, there are so many different products available, so many different loan types. We've got loans that go down for lower credit scores in the traditional market. We've got loans that don't need any income verification. We've got loans that qualify based on the income from the home itself for investments, in addition to all the traditional loans. So I actually met with a couple this morning in my office that they want to start investing and they have the money to do it, but they don't have the income to do it based on what they write off on their tax returns. And they were like, we've been putting off talking about this for a year because we just don't want to be laughed at. And I was like, no, we actually have 3 different options for that exact scenario. So if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know everything, and let me tell you, mortgage, nobody knows everything. There's so many different programs and so many different regulations. So don't feel like, oh, I don't know, so I'm just not going to start. Definitely reach out and ask the questions, because the odds are that there's a program that's going to work for you just because there's so many of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think asking questions is huge too. Like, don't be scared. I always tell, especially first time home buyers, no question is a dumb question. Like, we are not going to be like, oh, you should know that, because had I not been in this business, I would not know anything. And that's to be expected on their end too. So, um, ask away, because like Ashley said, there are so many different programs. It's just all dependent upon the individual itself.
I totally agree. And just to echo and expand on what these two ladies just said, we get asked all the time about our story and why we came over to Revolution. And our blanket answer is that we have a product list this long. There's literally a loan program out there for everybody, depending on their situation. And it's our job to help them identify that loan program, what's best for them personally.
yeah, absolutely. And, kind of like you guys were saying, mortgages can be complex, but there's a way to simplify it once you get down to what people are looking for and what will be the right fit. So I like what you guys are saying so far, but I just want to dive into this a little bit deeper. And maybe Savanna, since, we already have you kind of talking about this a little bit, could you kind of talk about how you discover the right loan option for a borrower? I know every situation is going to look different, but how does that process kind of look?
Sure. So the first step in the application process is to gather information from the borrowers, the future buyers. We go over their credit, their income, employment history, assets. We really take a good hard look at their situation. And based on that and our prior knowledge and experience, we're usually able to match them up pretty easily with what we think is the best option. And then we also give them several others as well. So really just taking a good look at that application is the first step. And at that point, that's when we're able to issue a pre-approval as well.
Definitely. And Kyndra or Ashley, do y'all have anything else that you want to add to that? Love the support. Great. Well, then another thing that we just kind of wanted to cover a little bit. I know that y'all mentioned, whenever you came together and created this branch, decided to go in this together. It's just important for, to be on the same page with putting the customers first and everything. So I want to hear a little bit more about, how did the three of you come together and decide, let's do this. Let's create this branch and make something awesome and, tailored to the customers in our area and across Texas. And then Kyndra, why don't you take that one?
Okay, perfect. And then y'all let me elaborate when I'm done. I actually knew Ashley prior to Revolution. Me and her worked at another bank together for a very long time, and then she went off to another place. I stayed, and then eventually moved over to where she was. And then even kind of prior to that, I did meet Savanna, but never in person. So I totally went off of Ashley's perception of her before I got to know her. And amazingly, me and her are a lot alike. All three of us are a lot alike, but in different ways as well, which I think is what helps our team go together. We did research our transition for a while before we actually made a move. We wanted to make sure that we were picking the best company to go with. And at the end of the day, that was Revolution. And we are still very thankful and happy. And just, it's such a free feeling, I think, for all of us to have done this on our own. It's scary making a change. And we were worried about would people follow us? Lubbock is a very small town, and small town people want to support their local companies, and getting the word out that we're all still from Lubbock. Nothing has changed, just our name has changed. We're all still together. It wasn't just like a company came into town, moved people there that have no Lubbock background or anything. And we've had some amazing success with that. And I think that has been so rewarding to all of us.
Savannah and I had both been with another local lender for quite some time, and they were great, and we had a great run with them. And it had just gotten to the point where they had brought on so many lenders. And like Kyndra was saying, our community is very small. And really, when you've got one institution with, 10, 11 lenders at it, you start to feel a little bit buried. Um, there was one day where my phone rang and it was Pat Fenton, and he just said, "Hey, I've got an opportunity I want to talk to you about." And typically the answer would have always just been no, but just happened to be that day. I was like, okay, let's talk. And then Kyndra had been at the credit union for about 6 months at that point because I had begged her to come over. And then I come to her and I say, "Hey, let's leave." So then the three of us really kind of started sitting down and running numbers and looking at what made sense for us and for our families. And as much as we did love the place that we were at, we just had to look at kind of what we saw being successful for us long term, especially in a shifting and moving mortgage environment. In the last few years, mortgage has evolved more than it has in the 20 years before that. So you've seen some difficult rate environments, but also on the heels of all this new technology and everything that's coming out, you're seeing so many people that are marketing differently, that are coming up with different products that are more unique and innovative, things that maybe a traditional bank environment doesn't support as much. And we were starting to see that become successful in our smaller market, which is something that had always scared me. And when I saw other people taking that leap and, having that success, we all just kind of started talking about like, we can do that. And so we researched the companies, like Kyndra said, and Revolution was just the right fit.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear that you guys, are pretty like-minded and came together and have been able to play off each other's strengths. But I also just want to hear a little bit too, and maybe Savanna, you can take this, just talking a little bit about being a 3-manager team of all women.
It has actually been absolutely wonderful because while we are all very similar, we are very much very different at the same time. So before we made the leap and came over to Revolution, we sat down and kind of did a division of duties. So we talked about our strengths, our weaknesses, what we wanted to do, we loved to do, what we didn't like to do as far as from a management standpoint. So we were able to kind of just split up the main things, and it's worked surprisingly well. While we all have our own main focuses, we still work together as a team. We're one individual unit. And what I like to say is it's kind of like a self-contained ecosystem where we all have our own things going on, but we work together every single day to overcome obstacles, to take the best care of our customers, basically just to always put our best foot forward.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I just like hearing about how, y'all really come together and been able to share the responsibilities, but also just have your own way of contributing and your own things that you're working on. And I just want to see if, anybody else wants to touch a little bit on just your perspective of being on the team and how each of those responsibilities are and how they can kind of balance each other out, individually, but also coming together.
We, all three of us women, have families, have children, and a lot of our employees do as well. And I mean, I know in my heart and Ashley and Savannah's heart, taking care of our employees is number one. And we all have the understanding that kids get sick or somebody's got a game or somebody, has a school program. And it's so nice. I feel like working here because when our employees ask us if they can go to something, like we're like, please, yes, go. Like, there's no hard feelings with any of that. And I know working in a corporate world before, you were only allowed, so much time, or you felt like you had to take your lunch break to only do stuff like we, if your work is done and you are caught up, like, please go, feel free to do whatever you need to do. Or if you need to leave early for your family, like that, I think that is like first for all of us, is family first for sure. And then division of duties, I would say, like, because we are all different, like with our division of duties, it totally like fits our personality. Like I kind of tend to the office and the supplies and take care of Concur, entering all of our receipts and stuff. I'm a numbers person. I'm an organizational kind of person, so that position fit me well. Savannah's really good with numbers as well, and she likes spreadsheets and stuff. So she takes care of the P&L. Her and Ashley kind of do that a little bit together. And Savannah and I were a little too scared to take on the personnel position. So any employee, if there's employee issues, which, I mean, we have not had any, and I do not anticipate to have any, but Ashley took on that as well for us because we were scared. But I don't know. It just kind of fits. I don't know. It has worked out really, really well for all of us.
Yeah, I appreciate that insight and just understanding a little bit more of how it all balances each other out. And Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? Just how, it can be different, but also just, having kind of that manager perspective of where you have the power to make the difference there.
No, I mean, I would say for me, as far as the last part of the question you just asked, as far as having like the managerial perspective to make different decisions, this is a complete 180 from the question, I think, but it answers the second part of your question. And that I think that's been a real game changer for us too. And knowing that if we need to make a decision to do what's right for the borrower, for the customer, we can. And we don't have to worry about going and getting levels of approval. If somebody comes in and says, I had one borrower that was like, hey, listen, like, I know that my cash to close is going to be this, but this just happened. My dog got hit by a car. He needs a surgery. It's, $800. That's going to put me short $500 for funds to close. And I was like, absolutely, go get your dog surgery and we'll take care of $500 your closing costs for you. So just having, I would say from the managerial position, having the power to make the decisions that allow us to go home at night and put our heads down and sleep, and knowing that we've done what's best for our team, for ourselves, and for our families, and for our borrowers, number one, has been the biggest shift for me in coming over here to run a branch.
Yeah, no, I really like hearing that, and just, being able to understand like where that comes from. That's really great. And I guess just kind of move on to another topic here. It's no secret that our current market has created some hesitation for homeowners and potential home buyers, or maybe potential investors. But do you have any advice for borrowers that are in this current market? Maybe they're on the fence, or just any advice for somebody that is thinking about purchasing or exploring different finance options with the current market, which, this is as of end of November. We'll see when this episode comes out, but just wanted to state that as well for people that will be listening in. And Ashley, while I have you, why don't you go ahead and start with that?
Yeah, so this is one that I'm actually really passionate about. I think that anybody that's out there looking right now, this is an amazing time to buy. And that it's not just me saying that because of what I do. That is something I'm very, very passionate about. If you look back at 2021, even halfway through 2022, especially in our market, if you're a first-time home buyer and you're entering that market and your budget, say $250, you were getting priced out every house you looked at. You had to go in, contract in hand, ready to write it. Because at $250, those offers were coming in at $260 to $280. They were doing appraisal gap waivers, saying, hey, if the home doesn't appraise, we'll pay you the difference in cash. There's just all this big, massive market momentum that was really keeping people from entering the market. Now, people that are entering the market right now, we would never say you should stretch your budget and you shouldn't feel comfortable with your payment, but call us, talk to us, let us find the payment you're comfortable with. because we've already seen rates start to come down. They've dropped almost a point in the last 2-3 weeks, which is huge. I think especially going into an election year, we're going to see that further start to decline. And what we're going to see is we're going to see all the people that have been sitting on the fence come back into the market all at once. And it's going to create really kind of a mini version of what happened in 2021. Like, no, rates aren't going to be in the 2s and 3s. So it's not going to be everybody rushing the market, but it is going to be 2 years worth of buyers that have been sitting there watching and waiting, running in all at the same time. So right now you can go in, you can get a decent rate. Just make sure you're comfortable with your payment and you can still live your life. That's number one. That's key. You can get that decent rate, but you can also get such a good deal on a home. You can go out and you can have your choice of 5 or 6 different homes in your price range. You can ask the sellers to help cover your closing costs. We've got people getting into the houses with zero money out of pocket. Then you turn around when rates drop and you refinance. So for instance, I had somebody the other day tell me, we'll probably wait until rates are in the 2s or 3s again to refinance. So I had to explain to them, as much as we hope rates, get back into the 2s and 3s, that was in response to a global catastrophe. We don't really necessarily predict that to happen again. But at the same point in time, you can still refinance more than one time, and you can refinance for a pretty low cost. Refinances, this guy actually said, I thought refinances are about $15,000. And I was like, absolutely not. I can see your hesitation. So if someone thinks refinances are $15,000, they're not. A refinance typically, depending on, your title policies, appraisal, that kind of thing, cost-wise, you're looking between $2,000 and $3,000 generally. So you can refinance as often as you want to. So anytime you see, the rates drop 3/4 to a point, you can go ahead and take advantage of that. So just make sure you're comfortable with that payment, because you get in this house now, you might get $10,000 to $15,000 off the list price. You might get the seller to pay for $5,000 to $10,000 worth of your closing cost. Then you turn around 6 months, a year, whenever the market dictates, and you refinance, that costs you $2,000 to $3,000. Instead of waiting until everybody rushes the market again, then all of a sudden you've got all this competition. You're going to be paying top dollar for the house. You're going to be paying all of your closing costs. That can essentially cost you $20,000 to $30,000 pennies that you missed out on previously by getting in a market with less demand.
Yeah, I'm glad that you touched on the refinance too, just because I think people hear that and they think, oh, well, that's going to be another closing. So there's going to be all these costs associated with it. So hopefully, somebody that is listening and may want to explore refinancing either now or in the future, near future, then they can rest assured that they talk to their lender, that, that's something that is definitely an option. So, well, let's hear from somebody else too. Kyndra or Savanna, let's just hear what advice you may have for somebody that is either going to be a potential new homeowner, or maybe even somebody that's looking to potentially invest but could be on the fence with the current market.
It's totally short and sweet, but to exactly what Ashley said, I wish I was a little more creative in coming up with my own slogan or meme, but marry the home, date the rate. I know that has been out in the market, and people have probably seen that a lot, but it is absolutely 100% true right now, so that you don't wait and get into the crazy market again where there are several offers on homes, and it's harder if you're an FHA buyer, because during that time it felt like they were just throwing out FHA pre-approvals because they had conventional offers, right there. So I think that is such a very, very true statement. And I think too, if you're on the fence, I feel like I've had a lot of borrowers lately too, they're not sure what their credit looks like, or can they do it, or maybe they're not going to be ready until next year. I still think it's an awesome time to go ahead and apply. Let us look at it. And if you know that you have credit issues, we can create and help with a credit plan to get you where you need to be. And then you also have an idea, kind of a worst case scenario without any seller concessions or anything, assuming, that went away or whatever, but you have an idea of what you're looking at as far as what you would need for funds to close. I think that's important for people, and not wait until like right when you're ready, because then I think the disappointment factor when you maybe don't qualify right then, it hits a little harder versus if you maybe don't qualify right now, even though you know you're not buying for 6 to 12 months, at least you have a game plan on where you need to be. So when you are ready to buy, all that's taken care of and you're not having to wait a couple more months.
I like that. Yes, I think it is definitely important. If somebody's listening and they don't have a game plan yet for going into looking for a home, then that is a great place to start, just to take a look at everything and see if there's any action that needs to be taken to help them get a better chance of getting into the home that they want. So I'm glad that you touched on that. And then Savanna, did you have anything that you wanted to add? I know that Kyndra and Ashley definitely covered some great points already, but just wanted to give you a chance as well.
Sure. So right now, like my word of the year really is opportunity. Like really just trying to get the message out there that there is so much opportunity in real estate right now. I read something a few months ago and it said the best time to buy a house is always 5 years ago. And that couldn't be any more true. In most markets, most of the time, real estate tends to appreciate year over year. So every year you wait to buy a house, you're actually losing out on that equity, the automatic appreciation. And that is especially true in this market right now because there's so many deals you can find. Kind of like what Ashley and Kyndra said, there's room for negotiation. You can go to the sellers and get a lower sales price. You can have them pay all of your closing costs. I mean, there are so many ways to make things happen in a fantastic way to a buyer's benefit. That I think if buying a house, if real estate, investing is something you're considering, right now is actually the perfect time to do it.
I have a really good quote to read. So in 1971, the interest rate for a mortgage was 7.33%. If you waited for interest rates to go down, you wouldn't have purchased a home until 1993. You would have rented for 22 years waiting for rates to go down. Meanwhile, the value of real estate quadrupled. Don't wait to buy real estate and wait.
I like that. Yeah, well, I just also wanted to hear, kind of flipping the perspective on this question as well, is what advice, and Kyndra, we'll start with you this time. What advice do you have for maybe your peers in the mortgage and real estate industry who might be listening, just with the current market?
Have visited with realtors about is all of us, we really have to work together. Now is probably the most important time in getting the message out, kind of what we have been talking about, that it's still a great time to buy. And like Savanna said, there's so much opportunity out there. I think it's really important for us to not harp on where the market is and try to turn the view around into more positive thoughts versus, oh, rates are high, or, harder to get qualified, or whatever it may be, but show the positive sides of things. I know realtors are having a hard time as well. There's not as many sales going on. And so they are in the same position as, some mortgage lenders. And I think if we all just band together and keep the positivity up, I mean, I wake up every day and I tell myself, I'm like, today's going to be a good day. Like maybe yesterday wasn't, but today's a new day. I get to choose my own destiny. I've got to make it a good day. And if that means, me making one phone call to a realtor or checking in on a borrower or whatever that may be, I just think it's important to stay positive within yourself, because I know that's been really hard for some people.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would be a challenge. Just being a realtor or maybe another lender. But yeah, let's see. Ashley, do you have anything that you want, a piece of advice maybe for peers in the mortgage industry or other real estate professionals?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of just to echo what Kyndra said, like this is obviously a hard market. It's obviously not the market. And honestly, if we look at 2018, this is still a good market, but we're all coming off of 2020, 2021, 2022. We're coming off of those numbers, those expectations. And I think what we just have to kind of get back to the realization of like, yeah, we just hit a big hard market and we're about to start growing again, hopefully. Those numbers were an anomaly. They were fantastic, but now it's time to build and grow a stable foundation that you can build a long-term business on. Um, really just sticking with it. Right now, it's not about the numbers like compared this year to last year. It's really about the numbers looking at, okay, where am I at in comparison to, and by I mean like our company, your company as a realtor, where are you at in comparison to percentages based on where you were last year? And that's where you're going to see if you're having growth. If I look at my numbers for this November compared to last November, I would probably not get out of bed. I'd be like, what has happened to life? But when I look at our branch's numbers compared to other companies and towns numbers, I can see that we're taking market share when I look at, what's out there in the market versus what we're doing. And, trying to just focus on a different aspect of it and to look at, hey, our piece of the pie is growing because of the work we're doing every day. So try to find, a routine to stick with, but then try to find a way to look at those results to motivate you. So when we look at it as our market share is growing. And that might not mean that we have the numbers that we had a year ago, but that's because it's a different market. But when the market turns, because we've been working so hard on our market share, we'll reap the benefits then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to kind of reiterate what both of you have been saying, I think, somebody that's listening that is in this industry, just keeping that positive attitude, but then also just remembering that there are some things that are out of your control, like you're talking about last year to this year. You could be doing everything the exact same, and there's just things that are out of your control. But Savanna, let's hear from you as well. Do you have anything else, any other piece of advice that you may want to add to this?
I think as long as each of us wake up every day and make the decision to do our very best, do all we can for our clients, for our real estate partners, everybody involved in the transaction, our coworkers, we really dedicate ourselves to that, and we really, really nurture the relationships that we have, that we'll look up in hopefully 12 to 18 months if and when the market turns, and we'll come out on top. I feel like the world kind of always has a way of working like that. As long as you're doing your best, that's all you can do. It usually works out in your favor.
Yeah, sweet and simple. I like that. Thanks, Savanna. And just, kind of applying all of this, I think this really just makes me think kind of about the future. There's only so much you can do with what we have right now, but I would like to hear, and maybe Kyndra, we can start with you on this one, but I just want to hear briefly what your team's personal goals and visions are for the future.
So, definitely long term, going back to what Ashley said, market share. I think we would love to be Lubbock's #1 mortgage branch. I think that is a vision that is extremely possible and one that we all have, while maintaining the excellent customer service that we have, for sure. Because sometimes when companies grow big, that can tend to be one of the first things that seems to fall off the bandwagon. So, definitely that. And we do want to grow just a little bit more. We don't want to get too big. I think we would love to have possibly 2 more loan officers on our team, and then kind of cap it off there for the time being. Those would be my 2 top things, I guess I should say.
Yeah. And Savanna, let's hop back over to you. And let me just reword this a little bit. What are areas of focus and growth maybe for your team or for yourself, we'll say, just to give you a couple options there?
So our motto around the branch is to always provide white glove service. So that is our vision. And we hope and pray that even in the busiest of times, we can still offer that to our clients and to our partners. As far as growth, I think it'll just happen naturally, as long as, again, it goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago, but as long as we're doing our best and really giving our best service to each and every person that steps foot in our door, I think it'll just happen naturally. Like Kyndra said, we would love to be the #1 mortgage company in Lubbock. And we've had the opportunity to be #1 in Revolution several times since opening. I think if we all give it all we've got, that's going to happen. And we'd like to do that while maintaining a really, really great level of customer service.
Yeah. And Ashley, let's let you finish this one off.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just reiterate what they've said. For the long time, it's always been white glove service, white glove service. Over the past few years, I've had the same assistant and processor, and just recently, one of my borrowers forwarded me an email they got from them, and they're like, "Hey, just checking. I think oh gracious, I've done everything on Kristen's list." And I looked and I read over Kristen's email that she sent him, and I just remember feeling like this huge sense of pride, because her email was just so well spoken and conveyed exactly what we needed from them, and conveyed exactly how much we cared. Showed them how far we would go, let them know we'll come pick up your documents, we'll do X, Y, and Z. So I think that's really just the reputation in our area that we want to have. It's just that, hey, call this team, they're professional, they're going to take care of you, but also they care a lot. And I think that just continuing to provide and uphold those values is going to provide the growth that we need. Of course, we do still do the drop buys. We do still do all of that, trying to, focus and plan for next year. But I think that people lose a lot of focus in going after just those things and saying, well, we just want to focus on TikToks now, or we want to do X now, or this type of marketing. And they forget that, especially in a town like ours, that word of mouth is so important. And that if we just focus on the baseline foundation, customer service, and truly caring, that we're going to see our numbers grow. And then our other marketing efforts, are supplemental and amazing to that. But that's got to be our #1 core strategy, is just taking care of people.
Yeah. And that is such a great point to just kind of wrap up on and end with. When it comes to this industry, if the main focus is not customer service and doing what's best for them, then you might be in the wrong industry, right? So I think that is so important, and you guys and your team definitely exemplifies that really well. So I think that is pretty much everything we have for today, but it's been such a joy just getting to hear more about your branch out in Lubbock, and learning a little bit more about advice for this current market, and just the future goals and visions that you guys have. So as we are coming to a close with another year, but thank you guys again so much for joining us. Again, Kyndra, Savanna, Ashley, really appreciate your time, and just hope that our listeners will really take something away from this.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
To stay up to date with our podcast, please subscribe, follow us on social media, and visit our website, revolutionmortgage.com, to learn more about how we are revolutionizing the mortgage industry. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next time.